What's up, everybody? This is Ricardo Rodriguez.
And Matthew Messick.
And this is
the Profits Over Wages podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Profits Over Wages podcast, where we do weekly interviews with highly successful business owners and entrepreneurs. We discuss life, business, and entrepreneurship to bring forward the lessons learned from success and failure, and most importantly, have fun while doing it. On episode 56 of the podcast, we sit down with Eachan Fletcher. He is the founder and CEO of Nestegg, which is a platform for property management and maintenance that makes being a landlord refreshingly easy. Prior to starting Nestegg, he worked as a CTO and VP of product at Expedia. On this episode, we talk about how Eachan made the transition from being the CTO of Expedia to starting his own business. We also go in depth about how Nestegg works, how the idea for the platform came about, and how it truly is an amazing product for new landlords. Lastly, Eachan explained how he has been able to keep Nestegg 100% free, whether you own 1 or 100 properties. Without further ado, Eachan Fletcher. But I mean, like, my name, Ricardo, is... you Google Ricardo Rodriguez and there's a million. Or Matt, and there's a billion. You know.
Well, I will say...
Eachan, there's probably... Well, maybe
it's like
it's
two.
Scotland.
Yeah. But I mean, so in adult life, it has paid off. But at school, it was not.
No, kids are terrible.
All you want to do is be the same as everyone else at school, man.
Yeah,
Also,
you
kids
don't
are-
want to stick out.
Yeah.
You know, when you're school, kids are kind of dicks, too. So it's
Yeah.
like...
Yeah.
Any way that they can make fun of you, it's just
Any
like,
difference, and you are like, you're in trouble.
like the kid that pissed his pants in like first grade. He was, you know,
Yeah.
the guy that peed his pants in fucking high school.
Totally, man. That's a move state mistake. That's what that is. You don't keep going after that.
Right.
You just start again. Yeah.
So actually put it a little bit closer.
Oh, all right.
Because they're having a meeting there, so I want
Okay.
to keep it pretty close. So Greg talks really loud, so we'll probably be able to hear him.
Okay.
Talks
So how's
louder
that?
than anyone
That's
ever
perfect.
met.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, Matt, let's go.
So Eachan, for listeners who are not familiar with you, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, I imagine most of your listeners won't be.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm a big deal. So my name is Eachan, Eachan Fletcher. I am the founder and CEO of Nestegg. That is an app that allows small independent landlords to manage their own properties. We're a help desk for landlords. We're a reasonably new startup. We've been doing this a little over a year now.
Nice.
I have a tech background. Before this, I was a CTO at Expedia. I worked at Expedia for many years in the Bay Area. I worked for them in London as well. I worked for several other startups in London. And before that, I worked in New Zealand at a technology company over there. So I've had a technology background most of my life. I got into owning properties reasonably late in life as someone who builds products that help people achieve things in their lives, that help people be more financially secure, that help people take better trips, enjoy more vacations. I just realized there's a lack of good technology platforms that help people easily manage their portfolios and be more successful at that. And so that was the big break for me, and that's where the idea came from, and that's how I decided to quit my day job, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that was a year ago?
Yeah. So
Like, how did that decision happen where you're like, I'm quitting, and then you just quit, or like you've been thought about it for a while?
yeah, I mean, I think like most things, it's kind of organic, So it started with, I think, my years in the Bay Area, where there is, regardless of what you think of the Bay Area, there's a lot of great thinking there in terms of product development and kind of new ideas that disrupt existing industries.
That's kind of the culture there, right? I mean, everybody is trying to create something that hasn't been created before, or trying to do something that has been done for a while, but they want to change the way that it's doing it.
Yeah. So when you're surrounded by that, that starts to sort of elevate your thinking in terms of how you look at existing industries and existing products, and then you start to recognize ways it could be done completely differently. And hopefully completely better. Those two are not always the same, but
a lot of them do fail.
We try to make we try. We're trying to hit both, and so I think just kind of learning from all the people around there gave me insight that I applied to this space, and then being a small and new landlord myself, I looked at how I was struggling, and then I could see in my head how better technology could take away some of that struggle, give me more confidence.
The real estate industry is probably one of the most outdated ones out there, if not the most outdated. I mean, most companies, most of the listings are still all on the MLS.
Right.
I know that's like new technology before it was like the actual books.
Yeah.
But everything is still done significantly pretty outdated.
And I think that was one of the interesting sort of, I suppose, comparisons in my head. Is I look at what we achieved in travel, particularly with Expedia over the last 7 or 8 years, I guess, and that I was there, and if you remember, there used to be travel agents everywhere, right? And that's how you booked a vacation.
I knew somebody who was a travel agent.
Yeah.
She was a travel agent and a broker. Now she's just a broker.
Yeah, was right. Like there you go.
She was a travel agent.
Yeah, and I think if you look at what happened there, you had data, information. You had systems that were sort of, locked up in a small, relatively small compared to the customer base, in the hands of these experts that you had to kind of go to, and they could unlock it for you. And then as people came into travel and looked at how they could use technology to democratize that data and to put all those same tools, the same information, the same ability to go and just tell an airline, no, I want that seat. I'll be going from there to there. Like
from your couch.
Yeah. Like, I mean, this is just like, so what now?
Right.
But that's the sign of a fantastic innovation, is you look at it today and you're like, so what? That's how it's done. But guess what? That was a wild idea, that an airline would listen to you, just a guy, and take an order from you, just a guy, like 10 years ago. Forget about it.
I mean, the same thing is happening in real estate right now, like, with big search engines like, Redfin and Zillow, everything is...
Yep.
We always say that the first showing takes place online. So you got to present that showing the best way as possible online, because that's where people are browsing. Yeah. Right? They're not going to a broker first and they're like, show me what you got or show me what's available. They start looking and then they contact you. Hey, like, I just had a client yesterday actually tell me, hey, I saw this property on, online. Can we go see it tomorrow? I'm like, sure. Yeah. It's just like, it makes things a lot easier. Yeah. But how did that transition come about? Like, did you start planning it while you were at Expedia and then kind of plan to quit, or how did you do that? How was that transition? Yeah, I mean, I guess my advice, to answer a slightly different question, my advice for anyone thinking about quitting a job is to do it with a plan. Right. And preferably with a plan that has a few proof points. Don't tell it to Matt. He quit he figured out he wanted to do real estate. He quit like the next week. Yeah. Well, you know what? I'd made decisions like that. Good for you. And maybe I'm wrong. It's clearly working out for you. But how I did it. You have a family. Everyone's different. Yeah. This guy's kids. So I think I recognized this issue where I felt like there was some tools that were missing for people like me in the size of portfolio I have, what I'm trying to achieve, what my goals are with my portfolio. Size of portfolio did you have, or do you have now? So I have 7 places now. A couple of them are kind of 6 flat buildings, a couple of them are single family homes. Nice. A couple of them are kind of condo type rentals. All over the States, or? So split between here and the UK actually. So some right here in Chicago. Okay. Nice. So it's small. And I'm still relatively new at it. But it's 7 properties, man. That's a lot for just like a single person most of the time. If you're not experienced and if it's something that you're kind of just going into it, very new. Well, you know what? That's exactly right. It's a real hard thing to get started at, and the hardest one is the first one. Yeah, the first one is hard. It's hard financially, and it's hard from the point of view of, what the hell do I do? Because you don't know what you don't know. It's the mindset, the fear on the first one, jumping into something new that you don't have experience with. Yeah. And who's going to help you out? I mean, and unless you've got all the right people lined up, and unless you've got all the right connections to this, I mean, it's a difficult thing to break into. So given how, I think, how important and how popular it is as a source of alternative income and a long-term investment and part of people's kind of broader portfolios, it's really hard to get going. And that's kind of where we came up with our idea of building a company that was just around these people who are just getting started. Like, how do you support someone who is just buying their first 1, 2, 3 properties, the first few years of
what do I do? How do I kind of stay afloat and de-stress financially? I mean, a lot of people who are buying their first properties, they've really like over leveraged themselves way up to the eyeballs to kind of close that first deal or two, and and they're kind of month to month for 6 or 12 months, just
if not negative.
If not negative, right?
Right.
And so there's a lot of uncertainty in there, and I think that's sort of what I recognized as there not really being a lot of help out there, so unless you got a lot of capital or a lot of other people behind you, it's hard.
So what does Nestegg do, like, to help people manage their properties?
Yeah, so the core of the product is kind of like an AI property manager that handholds you through every step of managing a property. So you that expertise that previously was only locked away in a human property manager that you'd have to kind of give the keys of your kingdom over to. We give that to all the individual landlords, so they know exactly what they're doing.
Okay.
That's all backed by real human experts. So we have a help desk of local experts in every city we operate, and these guys are available 24/7 to take calls, to talk to these people, to say, okay, so I mean, your first couple of years of being a landlord, there's a bunch of, almost everything that comes up is going to be the first time you've dealt with that, right? Like whatever it is. And so just to have someone you can reach out to and go, is this normal? Like,
why do they keep losing their keys?
Yeah, like, what am I supposed to do here? Like, hey, what are my responsibilities? What are my rights? What should I do? What do people like me normally do? What's your advice on how to like diffuse this? So having that is cool. And I think that's how we help people get confidence that they're doing it right. They're not getting themselves into trouble. They've got it, and they feel real confident moving forward themselves. On the financial side, we have a bunch of super cool features that help take the sting out of it. And so for starters, everyone, there's a lot of cool apps out there for rent collection, right? You guys are probably familiar with a handful of them already.
I mean, we've done anything from QuickPay to Zelle to Venmo to just deposit it in an account for those that don't have a bank account.
Yeah.
Because you do come across, like, you would never think that you get tenants and they don't even have a bank account. You're like, who doesn't have a bank account? We're like, they're out there.
That's a real situation.
So we
paying money orders
to the point where we just created a deposit account at Chase, and all they have to do is go deposit cash because that's what they do.
Yeah. So we took that idea of easy, automated, online rent collection, the sort of thing that kind of a lot of other people are doing, and we looked at that and we said, so that's so much better than getting a check in the mail.
Oh yeah.
Or something. But I mean, what still sucks about it, and especially from the point of view of someone who's just starting out, and what we came back with was, well, you get your, think about it, it's like this cash flow question, right? Your rent is due on the 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Your tenant's going to pay it into some automated account. That's going to take a couple of days to show up there. It takes a couple of days to clear. It takes a couple of days to land in your account.
Mm-hmm.
By the time you have available funds in your account, that could be the 5th or the 7th or something like that. And that's assuming they pay it
probably
exactly
the 9th, because
Exactly.
Most of them are going to pay it the 5th because that's the last day.
I'm trying not to paint an extreme picture here, but exactly. Yeah, you throw in a few weekends. Yeah, I mean, it could be mid-month before you've got money, but then right there on the 1st, you've got to pay a mortgage. You've got kind of various taxes and expenses and stuff coming out. That's tight.
Right.
So what we said, okay, how about this? What if we put the money in our customers' accounts up front on the 1st? And so we say, look, we'll give you available funds in your account on the 1st, and then tenants can pay at any point they like throughout the month, as long as we get the rent by the end of the month. And that right there just takes a massive kind of monthly stress ball straight out of these guys' hands, because it's huge. Like, whoa, that's amazing, dude. I mean, I'm no longer sitting here panicking like, when is that check going to clear out?
Does it have to be pending? How do you guys deal with like bouncing checks or like, funds not clearing? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so as part of that process, we have a rent collection process that runs, and we chase up kind of bouncings, repaying, that kind of stuff. Generally, as long as we get the money by the end of the month, it's fine. And so if a tenant's rent is due on the 5th, I mean, and what this allows us to do is allows us to really, because the way we look at our products as well, I think is a bit different in a couple of other ways. So we look at the landlord, the tenant, and the contractors. So I'll talk about the contractors a little later. We look at all of them as customers, and a lot of other platforms out there look at their landlords as customers, and then tenants are just some kind of like rent check producing machine that have to fall in line or suffer, right? Yeah. And contractors are some kind of like generic product. They'd better go on the shelf and they'd better go do good work and they can just suck it up. Like that's and maybe I'm being unfair to our competition here.
That's how people act.
But I think that's how a lot of people act.
You're pretty on point.
And, thank you. Certainly that's how we perceived it when we sort of got down to real kind of competitive research, and we were like, no, what's really going on here, at least in the segment that we're shooting for, which is, these like late millennial, early X, just getting started in real estate, just trying to kind of grow a portfolio and look for a replacement income. They kind of care about the other people involved in this, and it's much more about how do these different people work together to do things that make them all happy, than necessarily, one person's the kind of the primary citizen here and everyone else is there to kind of bend to their, So we look at it that way, and so why I say that is to your question about when the rent happens. Well, this allows us to give flexibility to tenants as well. So we can say, hey, look, your landlord needs paid on the 1st because he or she has a bunch of mortgage payments and other things coming out, but you need to pay on the 14th because you have, say, a disability check or some other thing that comes in a little later in the month. So how about this? We pay you on the 1st, and then we get the money from you on the 14th, and then everyone's happy. And so we've gone beyond just, hey, let's just collect rent in an automated way, and then just put rent out there in a way that gives the flexibility of payment method and timing that tenants really want, and takes away a major source of discomfort and kind of risk for landlords.
That also eliminates like I feel like a lot of tenants are like, oh, well, if you don't fix this, I'm not going to pay rent. And the landlord's like, if you don't pay rent, then I can't fix that.
Right.
And it's just like, they're just going back and forth. And it's like, I guess that fixes that issue like completely.
Well, it seems pretty capital intensive. Like, you need a lot of liquidity for that. Yeah. So how do you have that set up already that way to be able to handle that? Yeah,
totally. So we have we're backed by a pretty big VC in LA. Okay. As a startup, we've got kind of good funding, good backing, good advisors, a great team.
Because you're looking at it more for like more from the eyes of like a tech. It's a tech company, right? And that's how tech companies operate. So.
Yep. And so for that product, so we have a free rent collection product which works the same as everyone else's. Mm-hmm. You get the money once it's cleared available funds from your tenant, et cetera. There's no cash flow burden on us. We do that for free. Mm-hmm. And that's your scenario you were talking about. You get your rent on the 7th or the 12th or whatever the roll of the dice with the bankers. Yeah, and so we charge $4.95 a month, per unit for this product where we advance you the rent. And so from our point of view, we're kind of providing this bridging cash flow that
like $4.95 or like $495.
$4 and like $5.
I'm like, so wait, if it was $500, that's like could be the amount of the rent.
There you go, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, come on, you're just paying us your rent as well. No, I mean, this is the price of a Big Mac. There you go. All right, a Big Mac a month, and you'll be fitter and healthier too.
So it makes sense because if it's like, say it's $1,000 and it's like 5% or whatever, then
that's nothing.
Yeah.
It's like a point.
Yeah, and so to take that kind of sort of financial uncertainty away from the landlord, to give real kind of flexibility and reliability to a tenant, like that's
what does that process look like? Say I want to sign up. I just bought a maybe a 2-flat that it's my investment property.
Yeah.
When I sign up for you guys' service, how does it walk me through the process of getting tenants and managing them and all that?
Yeah. So right now, so one of the things you mentioned earlier, you talked about a lot of the listing companies that are out there and the technology sort of, so we are really focusing on the areas where we can make a big difference to your landlords. And so if you look at what's happening in the listing space with guys like Zillow and apartments.com, and there are some like dominant players there with awesome technology, and so we just suggest partnering with them, listing your properties on that. Everyone's doing that today, right? Like that's the new. It's like it's no harder to get a tenant than it is to put an old pair of tennis shoes on eBay.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you got that. And then what our help desk does is helps you make sure that you've thought of all the kind of slightly more hidden things, like, hey, make sure you say this and this and this in your ads, and don't say this. And,
right.
And by the way, make sure you background check people, and generally you want to look for this and this.
Charge an application fee.
Yeah, and so our help desk kind of
background check.
Yeah, will help you kind of figure that part out. And then the part that we do for you fully automatically would be, we grab all the data about your property, we get that on our platform. You add your tenants' details; they get a login as well. And so they can use that login to chat with you. You can kind of give them notices and things through that.
Maintenance requests.
Maintenance requests is a big deal for us, actually. So that's the other way I think that our platform is really targeted very specifically for new landlords. So another big problem you've got, you just closed on this property, then there's a leak under the sink. Like, now what? And if you're new to the game, you don't have I was going to say Rolodex. Do the kids still say Rolodex? Is anyone going to know what that is? Yeah. Okay. Call it your big list of contacts. I don't know.
Contacts.
Yeah. Your what is it? It's an SD card of contacts. So your SD Rolodex. You don't have a big developed network of professionals, of trusted contractors that will do a good job and won't rip you off. You don't have that. But you've got to get stuff fixed like now, and so that's the other thing we provide is we as part of being the help desk for landlords is so we have a complete end-to-end maintenance function where tenants will kind of report issues to us, anytime 24/7. They speak to us first. They say, hey, here's what's going on. We diagnose the issue, so we'll say, okay, we've got a pretty good idea of what's going on there, what's wrong, what happened. We then present the landlord, you guys, with that diagnosis and with a recommendation and a contractor already kind of ready to go to fix it as soon as you want.
So you guys you guys take care of the database. Yep. You guys.
Yep.
How do you get set that up? Do you just hire like a contractor, or do you have already a database of like maybe like an Angie's List?
Yeah, we have a database. So what we've done is again we've gone through and looked at this from kind of 2 points of view, like what makes contractors happy and what makes landlords happy. And we have a pretty rigorous standards for quality of work, for timeliness, for cleanliness, that kind of stuff. And we go out and find companies who meet that standard. We background check all the individuals who'll be going and doing work for us. We check their licenses.
Right, because they usually have to go when the tenant is not home, when they're at work, right?
Yeah.
So you got to make sure that they don't have
totally. So we do all that stuff so that you don't have to run around talking to like 10 different guys, checking them out, getting 10 different bids. We negotiate discounted pricing because we have the volume of all these landlords added together. So if you got 2 or 3 units, you're not going to get the same pricing as a big company with 5,000 units.
Right.
Of course you're not.
You're going to get retail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But through Nestegg you can, because we kind of put that demand together, so that allows us to get some discounts.
Okay.
Nice.
Then we so we give you these highly vetted, trusted, good quality guys at a discounted rate. So if you look at that and kind of go, okay, I get the problem. That's it. You'll see pictures. You always get before and after pictures. You can just tap a button and say, take care of it for me, and we'll do the whole thing end to end. We'll organize the time, the access, just everything. Just make the decisions.
Nice.
And then everything we do comes with our 14-day happiness guarantee, so you won't pay a dime until you're happy.
Okay.
So we wait until you guys say, yep.
Or the tenants cool with
all the tenants, and then and if anyone's not happy with anything for any reason, we'll make it right. That's even if we've got to send someone else to revisit it and do it. And so we'll do.
How do you guys deal with, or I don't know if you've probably dealt with this yet, since there are probably a lot of smaller jobs. How do you deal with contractors? Do they ask you for a deposit up front, or do you pay them when they're done, or how does that work?
We pay them when they're done. So we have the landlord's credit card on file, and so we can charge the landlord and take care of all the credit card processing drama, and then we pay. So we have an instant payout to contractors once everyone's happy. So on every job, you get this cool little tracker on the app, on the Nestegg app, that shows you, okay, it's scheduled. Oh, the guy's on his way. Oh, he's there now. Hey, he's finished.
It's like Postmates.
I guess.
It's like waiting for you.
Yeah, it's like watching your Uber guy arrive. You know, it's like that, but it's a plumber. So we have that, and then at the end of that, you can hit that thumbs up, and your tenant hits that thumbs up, instant payment.
Nice.
Or if you're not happy, then we investigate it, we figure out why, and we make you happy. And I think, and if people aren't happy, then we completely review that contractor and whether they even belong on the platform. But generally, people are happy, and so what we've done in terms of what contractors are looking for, because I mentioned earlier, we treat them as customers too. And so we studied contractors, and so like, what sucks about being a contractor, and so
not getting
there's
paid.
a handful of not getting paid or getting paid weeks later via a check, that sucks. But also when you look at where these guys are getting work from, other than Nestegg, they've got a bunch of direct marketing they try to do to get work directly, and that costs them. A lot of them are spending about a third of their revenue on that. And then they've got other channels, like kind of on-demand channels. We'd consider ourselves an on-demand channel from their point of view. They deal with other on-demand channels like Thumbtack, like Amazon Home Services, like Angie's List. But the problem with those channels is, from their point of view, is these guys are all they're sending leads. Right,
they're not actual customers yet.
So they're getting like 10 or 20 leads on their phone. They got to reach out to these people and go, hey, yeah, look, I can do it, and here's how much I'll do it for, and they've got to pay for every one of those leads, and almost none of them turn into real jobs. Whereas we give them real jobs that are calibrated appropriately.
Because it might just be people trying to get quotes.
Well, it almost all is, right? Like that's the point of it. Yeah.
Let me call 10 guys and get a quote. And then
and so
the cheapest guy.
Job.
Yeah, so by definition, you're going to get 1 in 10 of those, right? But you're paying for all of them, And so from our point of view, we say, look, we're going to give you real jobs. When you hear from Nestegg, we have a real customer and a real job that's ready for you to take. It's appropriate to your skills and experience and your trade, and it's appropriate to the areas you want to work in.
Such a millennial way of getting things done. I love it. Right?
I guess.
It's sort of like
audience.
Uber, Postmates. Just everything is just so easily done and trackable.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, like becoming a landlord, a lot of the time, if you're doing everything yourself, it's almost like another full-time job.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
So if you've never done it before, you're gonna be the one going down there. You're gonna be asking for rent. You're gonna be doing all the all the accounting, all the bill paying. It's a lot of work.
Well, it's interesting you say that. So I bumped into you, Matt, at the Midwest Networking Summit a weekend or two back, and one of the speakers there said something that really resonated with us, where she said, I've been building up this portfolio so that I can quit my day job. And that's like, that's the goals that a lot of our customers have, and that's why we're specializing this platform to help them accelerate, right? And she says, and now I've done that and I'm not working, but I didn't realize how much work there was in not working, and I was like, exactly, like exactly that. And so that's what we do is, as your help desk, we take all the logistics, all the organization, all the kind of chasing money, all the chasing contractors, all the logistics. We take everything off the table, and you just make the decisions. Yep, do that. Don't do that. Yep.
Do you guys charge the usual 10% fee, or what's your guys' management fee, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so we have a pretty good management fee. It's 0%, so we charge nothing. Our product is free for landlords and tenants to use. How we make money is the contractors pay a fee to be on our platform. And as I said earlier, for those guys who are paying about a third of their revenue for marketing, to get a stream of qualified jobs with guaranteed payment and good volume from us, I mean, they're making better money through us by paying us a fee and offering our customers a discount than they are going through these other channels. And so that's how we make money. So we're able to offer the service completely for free to landlords.
So it's free for landlords, except if they want that.
$4.95.
Yeah, $5.
Yeah, sure. Let me just clarify that. Yeah. So we have a couple of kind of paid upgrades, you could say. So you can collect rent completely free through our platform. But if you want that thing where you get your rent paid in advance, we charge $5 for that a month. There's a couple of other kind of paid upgrades.
What are the other ones?
there's a kind of a next step to that rent one, for example. So that's called rent advance, where we pay your rent out to you in available funds in your account on the 1st every month, no matter when the tenant pays. Now, obviously, the downside there is, what if the tenant never pays?
Right.
You don't get to keep that money, right? So we have an upgrade to that called Rent Assure, which is like an insurance product where we also guarantee your rental income. So you get everything you get with rent advance, but let's say the tenant doesn't pay by the end of the month, and let's say they've just run away. They've broken
Which
the lease.
happens.
Which happens. It happens. Or you get into the middle of something nasty, you got to kind of deal with an eviction. There's something going on there. I mean, that can kill an early landlord, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
You can't go from...
We went, the first investment property that we got, the tenant had been there for like 10, 13 years. And she's just like, I'm not paying anymore.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to pay you guys.
I know.
But I'm going to stay here.
But I'm going to stay here.
Yeah.
Like, I have the money, but I don't want to pay. I'm like, what the fuck?
Here's the new deal. I'm living in the house and I'm not paying the rent. Okay.
She lost in eviction court so easily because the judge was like...
Yeah, we went to, we went through the eviction
rent?
process.
It's like, no. It's like, get out.
And then, like that, like the judge asked her, like, why you're not paying? She's like, I don't know. And she's like,
I don't know.
What do you mean? Just get out of there. Like, just pay it. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, yeah.
But it took 90 days.
Exactly. I mean, that's still a long time.
That's 3 months
to
worth,
have no income.
Right.
When you've just got your first couple of properties, you
just put a down payment.
Exactly. Your finances are in a sensitive place. So what we do is, we will pay that rent for up to 6 months, while to give you 6 months cover of 100% of your rental income.
Is that one $9.95?
That one's $49.
Okay, still not bad.
So I still think that's a competitive price, and I think we've done pretty well with how we've used some interesting technology to partner with the right underwriters to kind of to bring that cost down into a pretty low number. That's a consistent number for any level of rent. And that gives the ultimate protection, where it's like, hey, no matter what happens, I know I'm going to get my rent, and if I have in the worst possible scenario, I'm not going to be personally,
And also, if you've helped them in the vetting process, going through the background check, credit check, job, all that stuff, the likeliness of the tenant not paying rent is it's pretty low, right?
Yeah,
unless there's like an unfortunate thing where they lose their job, they get fired, laid off, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, and look, bad things happen in life, and you can never really predict it, and that's why products like that should exist, But at the same time, you're 100% right. You've always got to take the right steps to make sure you're putting, people who,
How many units do you guys manage now?
Little under 2,000.
Okay, all 2,000 here in Chicago.
Yeah.
What cities?
So we cover Chicago. We cover all the towns and cities around Chicago, all the way into Wisconsin. We have some early coverage in Seattle and LA.
Nice.
But it's so Chicago was the first city that we decided to launch in.
Nice.
That's why my wife and I moved here from San Francisco, from the Bay Area. Yeah. When we're looking at where to launch the company, we look carefully at all the kind of major cities of the US, and while San Francisco is a great place to come up with new technology ideas, new products, it wasn't the right place to launch this business, because this is really tailored for those smaller, earlier landlords, just helping them to start to build up that kind of passive income. And if you look at the dynamics of this city, there's a tremendous percentage of rental stock, and a lot of those are owned by...
Chicago is the most tenant-friendly state in the country, so if you can make it work here, you can make it work anywhere, so that's like a good decision.
What did you say? I remember you said something one time what was the percentage of like rentals in Chicago? I can't remember.
I don't know if it was rentals, but I know 60% of the Chicago housing stock is multifamily.
Which is crazy.
Which is mostly rentals.
Yeah, I mean, we had it, our research had it at something like 55% rental stock total in all categories. Cool. And you're right. I mean, the majority of that is... well,
no, because those units probably have owner units. 60% is like multifamily, but it's just a lot. And a lot of the landlords here, a lot of those units are held by... There's a large number of small landlords, right? Yeah. Just guys like you and me trying to do the right thing and get by and make a living, and but in places like San Francisco, it's a small number of very big landlords who own those huge high-rise.
Right. Because they're the only ones who can afford them.
Yeah. And you know what? They've already got great stuff. They have got awesome technology supporting them, right? And that was the way we looked at this was, how come the little guys don't have cool stuff like that?
Yeah.
Exactly. It's also a super big city, and it's Midwest. It's, pretty much everybody that comes to Chicago rents when they're coming from Indiana, Wisconsin, Ohio, whatever, Michigan.
Because there's also a lot of 2, 3, and 4 flats, and a lot of people, buy one of those buildings, live in one, rent out the others, and then they might buy a couple more after that. So you get a lot of small landlords that have a few buildings.
Yeah.
By the way, do they call it flats in the UK?
Oh, did I say flats?
No, I just said flats.
Okay,
what I realize is every time I say that, everyone's like, "What's that?" Because they only say it in Chicago and the UK, right?
Got it. Yeah. No, that's what we say in the UK. That's probably why I never even noticed.
But they say lettings. They don't say leasing or rentals.
Yeah,
it's lettings, right?
Lettings.
Yeah. Well, other people are like,
letting a flat.
Like, what's a flat? It's an apartment.
Totally.
I don't know how I got to Chicago though. Like Chicago only, and like nowhere else. The word flat.
Yeah, I don't know. But so it's interesting what you say about Chicago being a very tenant-friendly state, and that's kind of I think there's that has its own challenges and dynamics. But from our point of view, again, being very focused on this one kind of customer at this one kind of phase in their lives. And by the way, anyone can use our platform, right? But in terms of who are we trying to, so our vision is to make software that our customers can't live without. And if you're doing that, then you've got to think about exactly what's awkward and frustrating for them versus someone doing something similar but in different circumstances. So if you own 800 units, you're not worried about your day-to-day cash flow in the same way as you are if you have 2 units.
Right.
And if you've been doing this 15 years, you're not worried about having a good bench of reliable contractors to fix problems for you in the same way as if you've just bought your first
because you probably
flat.
have staff.
Right? You've got staff. Yeah, you've got the guys, right? So again, hey, okay, they're both landlords. They're both running a portfolio, but they've got different problems. And so we're really zeroed in on these guys. And one thing that's good about that is it allows you to sort of to really kind of put you can run a 800 unit building on this platform, fine. But what I was talking about the tenants is when we first started really doing proper user research, one of the fundamentals I think to building good products is really understanding the target market and really understanding what they're frustrated with and what their pain points are and not just assuming it's the same as yours, right? So even though I consider myself one of these people that fits into our segment, we went out and we did proper, rigorous user research and we were expecting to hear people say stuff like, hey, my number one thing is getting paid rent on time and I better and I want to make sure these guys look after my unit, But what we heard was like surprising and also kind of refreshing where the people in our segment, hey, my number one thing is, I want to make sure that I'm doing a good job. Because I'm providing someone a home, and these are people, this is not just some sort of business thing. I'm doing something good in the community by providing homes for people and I want them to feel safe and happy living there, and I want to do a good job of doing that.
I've never heard a real estate investor say that.
No, it's small homeowners. It's a Midwest charm. They care about their time,
right? Yeah, they genuinely do. Now, of course, it's easy to say that against a background of, hey, rent is coming in on time, things are going okay, right? I mean, so obviously you've got to recognize that, and and that's why we kind of put those features in there. But it's a real priority of this segment. They kind of see themselves as more than just, I'm building up kind of an investment. They also see it as doing something that is positive in the community. And so we are not seeing in our customers, we're not seeing that kind of almost like adversarial relationship between landlords and tenants. And in fact, we've kind of internally, I'm using language shortcuts here to make this easy, but we've stopped using the term landlord, and we now generally say property owner or rental owner, because these guys, they're almost like backing away from the word landlord.
and it sort of has
it's not
negative connotations to them. Like,
yeah. So instead of calling tenants, what do you use? Clients or
residents?
Or residents.
Residents. There you go. Right. Property rental owners and residents. That's what you have now.
What do you call them internally?
Residents. Yeah. And again, that's you'll hear that different. You'll have different attitudes from large investors and and REITs and other but I mean that's, I guess, again in any ginormous market like real estate it's the world's biggest market, right? I mean, you're going to have very distinct segments of customers, and they're going to be differently motivated and have different values. Of course they are, because people are different, and they grew up differently. So it's not surprising to me that there's like a difference in how these people think about those relationships, and we've modeled that out in the system in terms of how we've looked at providing a platform for these people to cooperate around how they have a safe and happy home, and everyone's kind of invested in that, and they've all got a different role in it.
You say you've been in business for a year now?
Yeah,
feels like such a short amount of time, and you guys are doing already 2,000 units, you said?
Yeah, I mean,
it's free property management software.
Yeah, I know, but it's still like only a year. And you
easiest client acquisition model there.
Before we started the podcast, you said you have 6 or 7 people here?
Yeah, we have 10.
Or 10?
Yeah, so I mean, I say we formally launched around about a year ago.
Okay.
We were working on the idea longer than that. So going back to what you originally said about, did you just one day flip a switch and quit your job, right? Let's finish that story, shall we?
Let's go back.
This great conversation. We're kind of winding around. Like I said, during that time in the Bay Area, I started to kind of develop this idea, and then I started to feel like there was a gap in the market, and so a lot of the time we spent understanding the market, understanding the potential customers, building little prototypes. Like, before you go and build any kind of software, any kind of app, any kind of website, you should build prototypes, right? I mean, you shouldn't spend 6 months on a project just to find out everyone hates it. You should spend 6 days.
Or nobody wants it.
Yeah, exactly. You should spend 6 days just kind of building something that just people can kind of click around and it sort of looks right, but doesn't really do anything.
Just get the gist of it, get what it is.
And then you go out and you meet people who kind of are kind of in your segment, if you like, and you're kind of like, what do you think of this? So we were kind of doing that, and then from that we got enough information from kind of stuff we did in evenings and weekends to say, wow, we're onto something here, you guys. This is clearly there's something we're doing here that people aren't getting anywhere else, and they want it bad. And so that's when we said, okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to quit our jobs and do this for real, or are we going to keep playing at it?
That's what we do.
That's the same with you guys. Yeah. So we just looked at each other and we said, no, like, let's do this. And so that's when we quit, and then we started grinding hard for about close to a year, just building the product.
How many of you was it at the beginning?
So it was me and my co-founders, so 3 of us in the beginning.
Okay.
And then we, as we got more momentum, we gradually brought on more people. About 6 months into it, when we had a stable product, but we still weren't happy with it yet, so we didn't really want to launch it. That's when we started getting external investment, and we raised a good amount of money from some really good investors, and a VC on the West Coast, and a bunch of kind of professional sort of early seed investors who kind of look at future-looking companies with high potential. So we got great backing. That allowed us to grow the team some more, get up to 10 now with a handful of kind of freelancers, and then that helped us sort of push the product over the line. And then that's when we said, where are we going to launch this thing, and realized that Chicago was...
You guys are over here like Addison and Milwaukee, right?
Yeah, that's right.
By the karate place?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, the karate place. Yeah. And as a kid, I did karate. And, and I was kind of like, I kind of want to go there one day.
Yeah, that thing has been there forever,
has it?
By the way.
Yeah.
Like at least 20 years, I think.
Do you think it's really badass? Is there like
I have no idea.
An ancient master hidden away in there?
I've never did karate. I was more like a jiu-jitsu guy.
Okay.
I did jiu-jitsu for a while.
Yeah.
Never got into karate, but I did love that movie Karate Kid.
Yeah, totally.
I think they just brought it back on like YouTube or something like that. Like now they're like older.
Oh wait, there's a series now too,
yeah,
right?
But they're older now, so now I saw it on some ad or something.
Yeah.
Who was it that we met at the property tour? It was somebody from Nestegg.
I think you met Jonathan, right?
Yeah.
What does it do with you guys? Like,
So Jonathan's in our BD team, business development.
Nice.
So he's out there, and so you were asking like, how do we get customers, and so that's one of the ways is Jonathan's out there, kind of talking to people, trying to kind of reach people personally and individually, but at the same time at scale, which is a little bit of a contradiction, I know, but things like what we were doing at that summit, the Midwest Summit, that was an awesome summit. It allowed us to meet. There. I mean, we had about 60-something people sign up with us through that.
Oh, wow.
You guys had a booth or something?
Yeah, we had a booth, yeah.
Nice. There's like 150 people there. You got like 30% of
I know, it was killer, right? Huge. I mean, and so we went in there with no idea what to expect. And,
I was supposed to go, but I got an eye infection.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear. But
so we gave one of our brokers my ticket, so he went on Sunday.
You could still see with the other eye.
I'm not going to show up with an eye patch.
Yeah, well,
I was wearing an eye patch.
Can't deposit excuses.
The pirate of real estate. There you go.
Should have done that.
Yeah, just get a little parrot as well.
That's
just
fine.
Own it, man.
You should get some good. Well, I have some referrals for you right now, but you should get some good out of this because
hopefully
a lot of Chicago real estate people listen to this podcast. So
yeah, good.
That'd be cool.
No, that would be cool, and and I think anyone who's sitting there thinking, I want to get started on a portfolio, but can I? Do I know what I'm doing?
Just for the maintenance,
can I take
totally
the risk?
Worth it.
Yeah, I mean, and look, we it's free. You only pay a discounted rate for all the work you get done. I mean, it's kind of like you might as well try.
There's no reason not to do it. I wish it would have existed 3 years ago when we got our first rental. Had some issues.
Are you guys opening up on other markets, or are you just focusing on Chicago now?
So right now we're still growing in Chicago, but our plan is to be nationwide. We're going to be across the whole US, and we already have clients who have properties in other cities. I mentioned Seattle earlier, and so what happens is they use us here for the properties that they're kind of they're out of state for, right? And now they're putting pressure on us, like, when are you guys going to be in Seattle? I want to use you guys here as well.
Still affordable in Seattle,
which is awesome. Sorry, is
it still affordable in Seattle?
Oh, the market in general?
Yeah, like for rental properties. I mean, I'm sure you could get one here for like $150,000.
Yeah, prices are getting out of hand there. I mean, it's kind of like an Amazon run town now, right?
Yeah, like I know my girlfriend's friend just bought a house over there, and it's like a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,600 square feet, $1 million. Damn.
Yeah,
I'm like, what?
Here's the thing, though, right? People are still buying those properties, and when we look at kind of how people come to us and become customers, the stories are kind of different, right? And so maybe no one is going to buy that $1 to $1.5 million condo in Seattle downtown as a rental property, but they're probably going to buy it to live there because they work at Amazon and they're doing all right. Then a little bit later, they're going to get married, and then they're going to move into a single-family home with a wife to start a family, and they're going to be like, what do I do with that? Well, I rent it out. Oh, crap, how do I do that? And how do I get, it's a completely different game, owning a home versus owning a rental, right? And so, I mean, we see a lot of those higher value homes come on the platform for that reason. It's like, it doesn't have to be a deliberate investment, and in fact, that's how a lot of people get their first property is ways like that, and after that, that's when they say, oh, this is kind of working for me. Let me get another, yeah.
Like accidental landlord, and then they just
accidental landlord. Yep.
And inherit a property, your aunt died or something.
Yeah, those as well. Yeah, and then what do we do with this, you guys? Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna jump into the questions section of the podcast.
All right,
which is the last 15 minutes. Sure. It's just whatever comes to mind.
What do you wish that you knew before you got started, a year ago?
There's so many things. I think for me, one of the big changes to doing this was going from a $42 billion company, Expedia, working at an executive level, to going to a brand new company just getting started. And going from having a huge team of specialists that take care of every individual thing to having to be so hands-on in almost, and I think that's kind of a blessing and a curse, right? So as we're starting to grow the team now, and we're getting more people on board, and we're starting to grow the company, I have the advantage of of knowing how a lot of these jobs are done well and being able to pick good people. But just getting started, you're suddenly, you're sitting there with you and 3 people in a basement looking at each other across the table going, well, who's going to get us this data? Well, it's one of you guys. Yeah. Spoiler alert, whoever that is sitting at this table. Okay. And so, I think I could have been better prepared to, mentally to be like right down in the weeds and I think that was kind of tough in the beginning at least. Yeah.
You said it before, but how did you get the concept for the business initially?
Yeah, so I said it was really my own personal frustrations when I first bought my first rental properties.
Did you do any classes or anything, or you kind of just went in and like just cold, hey, I want a rental property, but what do I do?
Exactly, yeah. And I Googled a lot of stuff, and I tried a lot of other apps, and and I tried property managers as well. And I generally found, there's some great property managers out there. There's great ones,
but there's also terrible ones.
Yeah, and I found that, they took a lot of the income away.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the time when things were just going okay, there wasn't a lot that needed done either. And, it was hard to kind of reconcile that. And so yeah, it was my own personal pain points, as I said. And then from that, we got kind of a template of what's missing in the market. And then we went out there to make sure that, it wasn't just, me and my co-founders, we weren't just super unusual people. We wanted to make sure there was a sizable population of people feeling the same way we did about this situation. So, yeah.
Was this the first business that you founded?
Yeah. So, I'm going to say yes to that, but with a qualifier. So many years ago when I still lived in the UK, I had a different idea, and I built a company myself, in my own basement again, you could say.
At a garage.
And at a garage, yeah, there you go.
Basement and garage is where all the great ideas start.
And someone swooped in and bought it off me.
Hopefully for a good amount.
Yeah, I felt like it was a good amount at the time. But the company that bought that off me was in turn a few years later bought by Amazon.
Oh, shit.
And so then, yeah, that's what I said. And I was kind of like, well, I don't know if I did well at the time or if I sort of got through, but there you go. And at the time, I think I'll tell you what, I'm glad I didn't take that any further. I think that was the right thing to do there, because back then, looking back on myself, reflecting on back then, I had no idea about what it took to make a successful business. I was still very much in my kind of like tech world of building a cool app, and cool technology. I had no idea how to understand a customer, how to market a product, how to build viable economics, no idea about any of that sort of stuff. So I would have fallen flat on my face.
So you made the best decision with the good enough information you had at the time.
Exactly. Yeah. And now I feel so much more ready for the broader challenge of running a company.
What was the company like? What did it do?
So it was a recommendation platform for reading. So I also read a lot. I love to read books. And I looked at kind of... how could you enable people to share books with one another through the internet? So this was back in the days of, do you remember when Blockbuster was still around?
Yeah.
When Netflix wasn't an online thing? Netflix
they sent you
DVDs in the mail, right? So I had this idea of what if you could create a platform where people could share books with one another, borrow and lend books from one another, but they just arrive in the post. So kind of like Netflix was back then, cool little envelopes, here's a book from Bob, cool, and then you send a book to Bob in exchange, and
not just PDFs.
And exactly. And you've been matched up because the system knows about your collections and recognizes you've got a lot in common, and so that was the idea. I think it was a concept that I think, as you point out, was already probably ready to be disrupted by digital media.
Yeah.
But the whole idea of trying to help of like discovery, I think was at the core of it, which is,
was it like the algorithm to match people like with other people what they like?
Yeah. It's like it's kind of like an early version of collaborative filtering, where it's like, oh well, you have all the same books as these other 300 people, yet here's something they all have in common that you don't. Maybe you'd like to read that.
Kind of like when you go on Amazon and you're like, oh, other customers also bought this.
Yeah.
And it's like everything that's like somewhat related to what you're buying right now.
Totally.
Interesting.
getting good recommendations is still a hard problem, and it exists in every category where there's an explosion of choice. You know, like what movie am I going to watch? What book am I going to read? What pants am I going to buy? I mean, there's just, there's so many choices. I mean, you can't afford just to list things anymore. Things have to be organized in some way that brings relevance. And, and so, and that was kind of the concept, I guess.
Nice.
What's your best hiring tip or secret?
That is an easy answer, and this is my go-to answer every time. So my last CEO that I worked for, I learned tons from him. And one of the tips he gave me was keep highly extensive notes on everyone you interview ever, and never get rid of those notes. Keep them in a little lab or something. Then a year later, when you're doing performance reviews for people, you should always do rigorous, regular, fully objective performance reviews. Go back and compare what your really extensive interview notes were with those performance reviews. Because what you'll do, if you get good at doing that, over time you're going to see, okay, the people that I push really hard on this topic and kind of give these kind of examples, they tend to do well. And the people who are doing less well tend to kind of respond this way, and so that way, it's not a thing like, hey, here's the top 3 things I look for in people. It's not like an easy mode answer, but it's like a method that you can adopt and you can build into both your hiring and your constant talent review, and that will guarantee.
Interesting.
Because I think the most important thing is always trajectory, right? So you should always, every year, you should be making better hiring decisions than you did last year. And then the next year, you should be making better hiring decisions than you were the year before.
So by doing that process, what did you find out?
Well, a handful of surprises around what were the questions that really differentiated high performers from okay performers, right? And what were the sort of things that high performers said that lower performers didn't. And to give you an example.
Yeah, that's my
sorry.
It's almost more about the attitude that they have, like the questions that they ask, how they respond to like the things that you're saying.
Well, they do things like this.
Let him answer.
Yeah, like I think you're on the right track, right? So it's like people who are going to become your top performers. When you give them a question, they'll do more than just answer it, right? Average people will just go, oh, it's this, or oh yeah, my responsibilities in my previous team were X. People who are destined to be high performers, they'll give you real examples. Like, hey, have you ever had to work hard on improving another employee's performance? Yeah, I have. Well, they'll kind of go into like, okay, so my most recent experience with that was this kind of person, and here was what happened, and then sometimes they'll go on to move the parameters of the question on you, right? And so they'll kind of go, yeah, I think what you're asking me is, am I prepared to be tough on a team if I need to be as a leader? And, personally, I think I am. And here's how I tend to look at making sure I have only the best people in my team. And if I have low performance, I deal with it. And so they'll kind of almost see where you're trying to get to with that question, right? And they'll kind of zoom out a bit and kind of go, well, the point, like, here's why you're asking it, and here's how I like to kind of.
Because typically, for people who are not going to perform well, most likely you're going to get like one-word answers, or a yes or a no, or just something simple, because I don't know.
They don't want to say anything that's wrong.
They don't say anything wrong. Yeah, and
the other person is real.
Not only that, but you're also looking for resourcefulness too.
Yeah, it's like that they can scale because they can't just see the problem in front of them. They can kind of see the bigger picture around why is this a conversation point? What are you looking for? So
I like that.
Yeah.
Have you turned down a client yet for Nestegg? Have you turned down any clients yet?
Yeah.
For what reasons?
Sorry, you're saying? Oh, turned down.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, got it. Yeah. No, absolutely. So we have turned down clients. Yes, sorry, I misheard that. So kind of like that was almost an awkward question. Okay.
Turned down any clients.
Yeah. So like what? I'm not telling you.
Wait, what did you hear?
Yeah. Okay. Hey, we can bleep this out, you guys. Yeah. All right. So
I think I wouldn't say we've necessarily turned down clients, but we've been very picky about the business we take on, right? So I mentioned at the beginning that we're really trying to, specialize the product exactly for one kind of rental property owner, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's important because that's the only way you can make a product that a kind of a user community cannot live without. Because if you try to please everyone, then you're going to do an okay job for everyone. And then, you're going to have a bunch of people who are like, yeah, I kind of like the product, but it's not perfect, and like, that's not what we want to hear. We want to hear people say, I want this for, like what we're hearing. I want this for my entire portfolio. When the hell are you guys getting to Seattle? That's what we want to hear. And so we've had conversations with large property management companies who have looked at our platform as a way to scale their property managers, their human property managers, and to automate a lot of what they do. Mm-hmm. And we've ended up saying, look, not now, and I think, the key to like really growing a company into a huge kind of, nationwide and hopefully beyond type business is just to be very specific about what matters today, but also be very kind of, creative and open about what you could do later. And so there's definitely things we could do later, like provide this as a platform to property management companies, to bring in kind of large investment companies who just want kind of a lot more of a hands-off but still stay in control type management solution. There are there's so many people who could use this, but we are staying true to our original clients that we've identified.
What living or dead person other than family members do you most admire?
How do I give a non-suck-up answer to this? It's neither of you. I didn't mean that. I'm sorry.
No, just like anyone in the industry that you admire.
I tell you, I think someone I admire a lot is, and this is going to be a very geeky answer, so sorry in advance to all the people listening to this for the real estate angle rather than tech angle. But years ago, I got a chance to spend a lot of time with a guy called Alan Kay, who was one of the original Xerox PARC researchers. And I can see your eyes starting to glaze over, but this guy is kind of one of Xerox. There you go. Okay, heard of Xerox. It's not quite the same thing. One of the original fathers of computer science invented object-oriented programming, a lot of the things that make my career in technology today possible. And one of the reasons I admire him is he didn't just invent fantastic new technology that changed how people use computers. He also cared about trying to create technology that helped people with their very human goals, right? And one of my little kind of beliefs about kind of whether the future will be utopian or dystopian is how closely aligned to human goals is technology. How much is technology just out there doing stuff, and how much is it all about supporting what people want to do and with themselves, with society, with whatever. And I think through spending time with him, there was kind of equal parts computer science and philosophy that I think influenced how I think today. When we build this product, we're not just building cool technology. We're building cool technology, but it's very much about looking at how these three different kinds of customers work together to satisfy themselves, but also to sort of for this higher goal that's bigger than any one of them, which is how do you provide safe, happy homes for people,
And build a legacy as well, because they're building the rent portfolio who their kids could benefit from.
100% right. Yeah, and that's what it's about. And so, and I think that's what's always driven my decisions, both with this company and sort of in my more recent career is, what are we going to build? Like, how do we understand what people want to do and build technology that makes that easier and less risky for them to get out there. And there's so many great stories of
that kind of stuff, and just look at what you guys are doing, I mean, like, traditional media is struggling so much now, right?
Yeah, it is.
Because
is it? I don't know. I don't watch it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, there you go.
we're going to call you proof point guy. Like, yeah, like, but there you go, right? It's like, I mean, look at what we're doing here today. I mean, the infrastructure and the technology that you need to produce good quality content that people want to consume, like, people can do it, and I'm not saying that's where we are, but someone sitting in their basement can sit there and stream stuff and get huge.
I was on a podcast like 2 months ago, and it's in the basement. I was
Same.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be a TV studio anymore with like.
This is less than $1,000 worth of equipment.
And you guys are. I mean, I listened to a handful of your podcasts before. They're awesome.
Man, appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's great. It really is great. It's informative. It's great. There's good production quality. I mean, it's
It's funny you say that traditional media is kind of like struggling a little bit. I came out of my place yesterday, and somebody in my building, I guess, is getting newspapers delivered, and I'm like, what the fuck?
I'm like, you're like, what is that?
I'm like, who's getting newspapers delivered?
I might be about to date myself here, but this is a fantastic story, right? Like, so I mean, a cassette tape. Surely you guys remember cassettes.
I used to record I used to record songs from the radio.
Exactly.
And then have to like run and try to flip it over so it wouldn't the song would continue on the other side.
Yeah.
So the moment where I officially realized I'm old was when a friend of mine had a case for his iPhone, and on the back it was decorated to look like a cassette tape.
Oh yeah.
That's
right.
Yeah.
And his daughter said, like, what's that?
What's that?
And she's like, what is this picture of? What is this design? And he was like, it's a cassette tape. She's like, a what? And it's like, she has lived her entire life. And there's another dude I know who showed his kid the Terminator. Yeah, like classic Arnie action from I guess the 80s or 90s and 90s I guess. And the kid had zero problems getting his head around like a robotic killing machine from the future, made total sense, zero questions. But then that bit where Arnie's flipping through the phone book, the paper phone book, trying to find Sarah Connor, he's like, what's that book?
That's hilarious.
What is that book that guy's looking at? Why isn't he just looking it up in the phone? You're just like, whoa, that's the bit you don't get of this movie? Are you serious?
There's no phone.
Yeah,
it's not the future yet, it's past.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Next.
Yep, that's it.
Oh, that was it? Cool. I guess I had one more question. Like, what are some of the biggest challenges you'd had, like, growing the company so far, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I mean, so the one thing I'd always suggest people do is really look at people who've achieved something similar to you, try to get to know them, find out how they succeeded, what they struggled with, and get good advisors. And particularly be very self-aware about what you do well and what you don't do well, and make sure you have advisors who are strong in the areas you aren't, and then make yourself accountable to them. So one of the first things I did when I founded this company was, I looked at where am I worried about my ability to execute on this, and I reached out to all the people that I know are strong there, and I set up an advisory board. And I set up a structure in which I was accountable to them once a month to come and talk about.
It's like a mastermind.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and I think because you can get carried away, I guess, as the CEO of your own thing, and
there's so much things going on. You're not able to see the big picture.
Exactly,
either.
And so having that, I think, has helped. And so there's been a bunch of stuff where, I talked several times about being really focused on these kind of just getting started, new rental owners who are just trying to build a portfolio and get into the game, and all the headwinds they face that keep them out and slow them down. So I mean, we started off with hey, let's build this platform for everyone. Everyone can do it, and we tried to, and then we realized we couldn't make a product that suited everyone's unique needs, because the segment's so big and diverse, that if we really had to make something that people can't live without, we had to be more focused. And so focusing more specifically on one type of person's problems and goals, is probably one of those big things that we did wrong. And that, again, I think having that great advisory board helped us sort of catch that before we were too far down the line and kind of go, guys, reel it in. You'll find it easier this way. And so I think we've gotten where we are now without really a lot of skin knees, which I don't think is the normal experience for startups. I think a lot of them are just like, get out there, throw a bunch of stuff out, see what happens, and we've been really methodological. It's easy for you to say.
Methodical.
Thank you. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, cool. All right, you're a language guy. Got it.
No,
thank you, man. Really appreciate this.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
A lot of great stuff, great advice. Where can people find Nestegg?
Yeah, they can just go to www.nestegg.rent. Check out the product, check it out from your phone or your laptop, and if people want to contact me directly, always love to hear from customers. It's EACHAN at nestegg.rent, just Eachan at nestegg.rent. That's my first
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Till next time, guys.
All right, thank you.
And that's it for another episode of the podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. One last thing before you head off, though. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us your thoughts on iTunes. It would really mean a lot and help us reach more people. You can also find us on Facebook at Profits Over Wages Podcast, as well as on Instagram and YouTube. Until next time.